In October of 1902, a man named Émile Carlion walked into the Paris catacombs with 3 cameras and never came out. He was a photographer. A professional one. He had been hired before by major institutions to take pictures of underground places. He knew what he was doing. He had the right equipment. He had done this kind of work many times before. He went in on a Tuesday morning. By Sunday he still had not returned. An inspection team went in to look for him. They found his camera sitting in a neat line against the tunnel wall, about 400 meters inside the entrance. His flash equipment was set up a few meters further down the passage, ready to fire. But it had never been used. He had put everything down and kept walking. And he never came back. His equipment was brought to the surface. He had been carrying 14 glass plates to photograph on. 11 were found. 2 were broken. 1 was missing entirely. They developed the 11 plates that survived. 10 of them showed exactly what you would expect. Long tunnels. Walls lined with human bones stacked from floor to ceiling. Skulls arranged in patterns. The kind of images people had been taking in the catacombs for decades. The 11th plate was different. Nobody outside the institution that received it has seen that photograph since 1903. This is who Émile Carlion was, because someone has been working very hard to make sure most people have never heard his name. He was born in Lyon in 1859. He learned photography in one of the best workshops in France. By the time he moved to Paris in 1887, he was already skilled enough to be trusted with serious work. In 1895, a major institution hired him to photograph the ancient underground foundations beneath the left bank of Paris. He went down, did the work, came back up with 22 glass plates showing chambers and passages that nobody could explain. The institution accepted the photographs, catalogued them, and then locked them away from public access in 1897. Carlion was not quiet about this. He filed a formal written complaint. That complaint is still sitting in the French National Archives right now. You can request to see it. In the complaint he said very clearly that the chambers he had photographed did not match anything in the official records of what was supposed to be under Paris. He said the public had a right to see the images. He said this was not a technical question. It was a question of historical truth. Nobody responded to his complaint. 5 years later he walked into the catacombs and did not walk out. Now you need to understand what the catacombs actually are, because the official story leaves out the most important part. The official story goes like this. In the late 1700s, the cemeteries of Paris were overflowing. The city was running out of space for its dead. So officials decided to move the bones into a network of old tunnels under the city that had been used for centuries to mine the limestone used to build Paris. They moved 6 million bodies down there. They stacked the bones in the tunnels. Workers organized them into the galleries you can visit today. That is the official story. That is what every tour guide tells you. What the official story skips over is this. When the workers went into those tunnels in the 1780s to prepare them for the bones, they found things that had no explanation. Certain sections of the tunnel network had rooms with smooth-shaped walls. Floors that had been deliberately leveled. Alcoves cut into the stone at regular intervals. Evidence that people had not just passed through these spaces but had lived in them, worked in them, built inside them. And not in the medieval period. Not in the 1200s or 1300s when the limestone quarrying began. Something that came before that. Before the quarrying. Before the medieval city. Before any record that official history is willing to acknowledge. The men who organized the Ossuaire project noted these sections in their 1780 survey. They recorded them. And then they stacked 6 million sets of human bones on top of them and moved on. Think about what that means for a moment. If you wanted to make sure that something underground stayed hidden forever, there is no better way to do it than to cover it with the bones of an entire city. You cannot excavate under 6 million dead people. Nobody will ever let you. Nobody will ever fund it. Nobody will ever give permission. The bones are real. The dead are real. But they are also the most effective barrier to further investigation that anyone could possibly construct. Carlion had figured this out by 1902. His complaint from 1897 specifically mentioned that the chambers he photographed under the left bank showed the same kind of pre-medieval shaping and construction that the 1780 surveyors had noted in the catacomb tunnels. He was saying that the two things were connected. That the strange chambers under the left bank and the strange sections of the catacomb tunnels were part of the same thing. He wanted to find the physical passage connecting them. In October 1902 he went looking for it. No. The 11th glass plate. A woman named Adèle Fonsart worked at a Paris museum called the Musée Carnavalet. In the spring of 1903 she was given the job of cataloging everything recovered from the Carlion search. Her notes from that work still exist, partially. 12 pages are missing from her original notebook. But what remains includes her written description of the 11th plate, before it was taken away. She wrote that the plate showed a chamber that did not appear on any existing map of the catacomb tunnel system. The chamber was reached through a passage that was not in any official survey. The walls of the chamber had been carved and shaped. She compared the style to a type of French stone carving from the medieval period, but then wrote that it appeared to be older than that, possibly much older, though she could not put a precise date on it. Then she described what was on the floor of the chamber. She called them stone forms arranged in a deliberate pattern. She used the word proportions to describe them. She used it twice. She wrote that the proportions were not consistent with any funeral monument tradition she could identify in the French historical record. She did not write the word large. She did not write the word giant. She was careful. She stayed technical. She only described what she could see. But a trained professional cataloger writing that the proportions of stone forms do not match any known funeral tradition is not a vague statement. That is a precise statement with a very specific implication. Her catalogue was rewritten in April 1903 by a different person. The entry for the 11th plate was replaced with 4 words. Plate damaged. Unusable. The plate was transferred to an institution that is not named in any record and has not appeared in any public catalogue since. Fonsart resigned from the museum in May 1903. She moved away from Paris. She never published another piece of work. Whatever she saw in that image was clear enough that she understood her career in this field was over. The 14th plate, the one that was missing when the cameras were found, was never recovered. That means Carlion had already used it before he set his equipment down and kept walking. He photographed something on that plate. Then he put his cameras against the wall, walked further into a passage that no map shows, and never came back. Whatever is on that last plate is wherever he went. The Paris catacombs are open to tourists today. About 600,000 people visit every year. They walk the same 2-kilometer route. They see the same bones. They take the same photographs. 400 meters inside the entrance, at the exact junction point where Carlion's cameras were found lined up against the wall, the official tourist route turns left. The passage that goes straight ahead is blocked by a door. The door was installed in 1904. It has no sign on it. It has no official name in the current catacomb records. It appears once in a maintenance log from 1904. The entry reads Junction 7. Access restricted. Permanent. After that one entry it is never mentioned again in any document. No explanation for why it was sealed. No record of what is behind it. No indication of who gave the order to close it and why they did it the year after Carlion's cameras were found on the other side of it. The door is still there. Behind it is a passage that leads somewhere no official map acknowledges. And somewhere at the end of that passage, in a chamber that a careful professional cataloger described and then was silenced for describing, on a glass plate that has been sitting in total darkness for over 100 years, is whatever Émile Carlion thought was important enough to photograph last. He put everything else down. He kept only that one plate. And then he walked toward whatever was in that chamber and did not come back. The door at Junction 7 has been locked for 120 years. Nobody has opened it. At least not officially.